In the quiet town of Willow Creek, where neighbors knew each other by name and crime was almost unheard of, one fateful night in 1987 shattered the peace forever. A young woman vanished without a trace, leaving behind a mystery that would baffle detectives for decades. Her name was Lena Martinez, a vibrant 24-year-old waitress with dreams of becoming a writer, a beloved daughter, and a friend to everyone she met. But on the night of October 12th, 1987, Lena walked out of her small apartment, got into her car, and was never seen again. Lena's disappearance wasn't just a missing persons case. It was a puzzle that defied logic. Her car was found abandoned just 3 miles from her home, keys still in the ignition, her purse neatly placed on the passenger seat. There were no signs of a struggle, no fingerprints that didn't belong, and no witnesses who could explain what had happened. It was as if Lena had simply vanished into thin air. But what made this case even more chilling were the strange clues left behind. A single red rose was found on the driver's seat, a detail that sent shivers down the spines of investigators. Who left it there? Was it a message, a taunt, or a cruel coincidence? And then there was the note, scribbled on a napkin and tucked into Lena's pocket, that read, "I'll see you soon." Was it a love note, a threat, or something else entirely? As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, the town of Willow Creek was consumed by fear and suspicion. Neighbors who once trusted each other now locked their doors at night. Parents kept their children indoors, and the once bustling streets grew eerily quiet. The police worked tirelessly, chasing down every lead, interviewing every possible suspect, and even consulting psychics in their desperation for answers. But no matter how hard they tried, the trail always went cold. Lena's family was left in a nightmare they couldn't wake up from. Her mother, Rosa, spent every day waiting by the phone, hoping for a call that never came. Her father, Carlos, combed through the woods and fields surrounding Willow Creek, refusing to give up on his daughter. And her younger sister, Sophie, who was just 16 at the time, struggled to make sense of a world that could take someone so full of life and leave no trace behind. The case quickly gained national attention, with news outlets dubbing it the mystery of the missing rose. Amateur sleuths and armchair detectives pored over every detail, theorizing about what could have happened to Lena. Was she the victim of a random abduction? Did she run away to start a new life? Or was there something darker, something more personal at play? The theories were endless, but the truth remained elusive. For decades, Lena's disappearance has haunted Willow Creek and baffled investigators. Despite advancements in forensic science, countless hours of detective work, and the unwavering determination of her family, the case remains unsolved. But even now, 36 years later, there are those who refuse to let Lena's story fade into obscurity. They believe that somewhere, somehow, the answers still exist, waiting to be found. This is the story of Lena Martinez, a young woman whose life was cut tragically short, and the chilling disappearance that has left a community searching for answers. It's a story of hope, heartbreak, and the enduring mystery that continues to defy explanation. What really happened to Lena Martinez? And will we ever know the truth? To understand the gravity of Lena Martinez's disappearance, we must first understand the life she lived and the town she called home. Lena was more than just a name in a missing persons file. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a dreamer. Born and raised in Willow Creek, Lena was the kind of person who lit up a room with her smile. She was known for her kindness, her quick wit, and her love of storytelling. At 24, she was working as a waitress at the local diner, saving up to pursue her dream of becoming a writer. Her friends often joked that she could turn even the most mundane moment into a captivating tale. Lena's family was the cornerstone of her life. Her mother, Rosa, was a schoolteacher who had instilled in Lena a love of books and learning. Her father, Carlos, a mechanic, was her biggest cheerleader, always encouraging her to chase her dreams. And then there was Sophie, Lena's younger sister, who idolized her. The two were inseparable, sharing secrets, dreams, and the kind of bond that only sisters can understand. But Lena's world extended far beyond her family. She was a beloved figure in Willow Creek, a town where everyone knew everyone. With a population of just over 2,000, Willow Creek was the kind of place where neighbors waved to each other from their porches, where kids played freely in the streets, and where crime was something you only read about in the news. It was a town built on trust, community, and a shared sense of safety, until the night Lena vanished. The day of Lena's disappearance began like any other. She woke up early, as she always did, to help her mother prepare breakfast before heading to work at the diner. Her shift was uneventful, filled with the usual banter with regular customers and the occasional rush of lunchtime traffic. After her shift ended at 3 p.m., Lena stopped by the local library to return a stack of books and check out a few new ones. The librarian, Mrs. Thompson, later recalled how Lena had been excited about a novel she'd been waiting to read. "She was always so full of life," Mrs. Thompson said. "It's hard to believe she's gone." From the library, Lena drove to her best friend Mia's house. The two had plans to work on a short story Lena was writing, a mystery, ironically enough. They spent hours brainstorming plot twists and character arcs, laughing and sipping coffee until the sun began to set. Mia would later tell investigators that Lena seemed completely normal that day. She was happy, focused, and excited about her writing, Mia said. There was no sign that anything was wrong. At around 7 p.m., Lena left Mia's house, promising to call her later that night. She stopped by the grocery store to pick up a few things for dinner, waving to the cashier as she left. That was the last time anyone saw Lena Martinez alive. Her car was found the next morning, abandoned on the side of a quiet country road just 3 miles from her home. The keys were still in the ignition, her purse was on the passenger seat, and a single red rose lay on the driver's side. But Lena was nowhere to be found. The discovery of Lena's car sent shockwaves through Willow Creek. How could someone vanish so completely, leaving behind no trace? The town that had once been a haven of safety and trust was now gripped by fear and suspicion. Parents kept their children indoors, neighbors eyed each other warily, and the once bustling streets grew eerily quiet. For the first time in its history, Willow Creek felt like a different place, a place where danger could lurk around any corner. As investigators began piecing together Lena's last known movements, they interviewed everyone who had seen her that day. Her family, her friends, her co-workers, all of them painted a picture of a young woman who was happy, ambitious, and full of life. There was no indication that Lena had been planning to run away, no signs of trouble in her personal life, and no reason to believe she would simply disappear. And yet, she had. The disappearance of Lena Martinez wasn't just a tragedy for her family. It was a loss for the entire community. Willow Creek would never be the same again. But as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, one question remained. What really happened to Lena Martinez? The last time anyone saw Lena Martinez alive was on the evening of October 12, 1987. It was a cool autumn night, the kind where the air feels crisp and the sky is painted in shades of orange and purple as the sun dips below the horizon. Lena had left her best friend Mia's house just after 7 p.m., promising to call later that night. She made a quick stop at the local grocery store, where she picked up a few items for dinner. The cashier, an elderly woman named Mrs. Henderson, later recalled how Lena had been her usual cheerful self. She smiled and waved as she left, Mrs. Henderson said. I never imagined that would be the last time I'd see her. From the grocery store, Lena's movements become less clear. Witnesses reported seeing her car, a blue 1982 Chevrolet Chevette, driving slowly down Main Street, heading toward the outskirts of town. But after that, the trail goes cold. What happened next remains one of the most haunting questions in this case. Did Lena make it home that night? Did she encounter someone along the way? Or did something far more sinister occur? The next morning, Lena's car was discovered abandoned on the side of a quiet country road, just 3 miles from her home. The scene was eerily undisturbed. The keys were still in the ignition, her purse was neatly placed on the passenger seat, and a single red rose lay on the driver's side. But Lena was nowhere to be found. The discovery sent shockwaves through Willow Creek. How could someone vanish so completely, leaving behind no trace? The search for Lena began almost immediately. Her family, frantic with worry, reached out to everyone they knew. Her father, Carlos, organized search parties, combing through the woods and fields surrounding Willow Creek. Her mother, Rosa, stayed by the phone, praying for a call that would bring her daughter home. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers joined the effort, determined to find the young woman who had touched so many lives. Local law enforcement was quick to respond, but the lack of evidence made their job incredibly difficult. There were no signs of a struggle at the scene where Lena's car was found, no tire tracks leading away from the road, and no witnesses who could provide any useful information. The only clue was the red rose, a detail that baffled investigators. Who had left it there? Was it a message, a taunt, or simply a cruel coincidence? As the days turned into weeks, the search for Lena expanded beyond Willow Creek. Flyers with her photo were distributed across the state, and her story began to make headlines. News outlets picked up the case, dubbing it the mystery of the missing rose. The national media descended on Willow Creek, turning the quiet town into the center of a media frenzy. Reporters camped out on street corners, interviewing anyone who might have known Lena or seen something suspicious. The attention brought both hope and frustration. On one hand, the increased visibility meant more resources and more eyes looking for Lena. On the other hand, the constant scrutiny weighed heavily on her family and the community. Every lead, no matter how small, was followed up on. Tips poured in from across the country, some credible, others wildly speculative. But despite the tireless efforts of investigators and volunteers, the trail always seemed to go cold. One of the most puzzling aspects of the case was the note found in Lena's pocket. Scribbled on a napkin, it read, "I'll see you soon." Was it a love note, a threat, or something else entirely? Investigators analyzed the handwriting, interviewed everyone who might have had contact with Lena, and even consulted handwriting experts. But the note's origin and meaning remain a mystery to this day. As the weeks turned into months, the search for Lena began to slow. The media moved on to other stories, and the national attention faded. But for Lena's family and the people of Willow Creek, the pain and uncertainty never went away. The disappearance of Lena Martinez wasn't just a missing persons case. It was a wound that refused to heal, a mystery that defied explanation, and a reminder that even in the safest of places, darkness can lurk just beneath the surface. From the moment Lena Martinez was reported missing, the investigation into her disappearance became a top priority for the Willow Creek Police Department. But what seemed like a straightforward missing persons case quickly turned into one of the most perplexing mysteries detectives had ever encountered. The lack of evidence, the strange clues left behind, and the tight-knit nature of the community made it a challenge unlike any other. In the early days of the investigation, detectives focused on piecing together Lena's last known movements. They interviewed everyone who had seen her on the day she vanished, her co-workers at the diner, the librarian at the Willow Creek Public Library, her best friend Mia, and the cashier at the grocery store. Each person painted a picture of a young woman who was happy, focused, and excited about her future. There was no indication that Lena had been planning to run away or that she was in any kind of trouble. But as the days passed, detectives began to explore other possibilities. Was Lena the victim of a random abduction? Had she encountered someone on her way home that night? Or was there something more personal at play? The theories were endless, but the evidence was scarce. One of the first leads investigators pursued was a man named Greg Harris, a local handyman who had been seen talking to Lena at the diner a few days before her disappearance. Greg had a history of minor run-ins with the law, and some in the community viewed him with suspicion. But after hours of questioning, detectives found no concrete evidence linking him to Lena's disappearance. His alibi checked out, and he was eventually cleared as a suspect. Another lead involved a mysterious black truck that had been spotted near the area where Lena's car was found. Witnesses reported seeing the truck parked on the side of the road late that night, but no one could provide a license plate number or a detailed description of the driver. Detectives followed up on every black truck registered in the county, but the trail went cold. It was just one of many dead ends that would come to define the case. As the investigation progressed, detectives turned their attention to the physical evidence. Lena's car was processed meticulously, but it yielded few clues. Fingerprints found inside the vehicle belonged to Lena and her family members, and there were no signs of forced entry or a struggle. The red rose found on the driver's seat was sent to a lab for analysis, but it was a common variety, sold at nearly every florist in the area. The note found in Lena's pocket, "I'll see you soon," was analyzed by handwriting experts, but it couldn't be matched to anyone in the investigation. One of the most promising pieces of evidence was a partial fingerprint found on the exterior of Lena's car. Detectives ran it through every database they had access to, but it didn't match any known suspects. Years later, advancements in forensic technology allowed investigators to re-examine the print, but it still led nowhere. It was a frustrating pattern that would repeat itself time and time again. Just when it seemed like the case was about to break open, the trail would go cold. The emotional toll of the investigation was immense, not just for Lena's family, but for the detectives working the case. Detective Mark Reynolds, who led the investigation, later described it as the most challenging case of his career. "You want so badly to bring closure to the family," he said, "but when the evidence just isn't there, it feels like you're failing them." For Lena's parents, Rosa and Carlos, the lack of answers was unbearable. They attended every press conference, every search party, and every meeting with investigators, hoping for a breakthrough that never came. As the months turned into years, the investigation into Lena's disappearance became a cold case. But for those who knew her, the pain never faded. Her best friend Mia kept a journal filled with memories of their time together, writing letters to Lena as if she might one day read them. Her sister Sophie, now an adult, became an advocate for missing persons, determined to ensure that no other family would have to endure the same agony. The disappearance of Lena Martinez remains one of Willow Creek's greatest mysteries. Despite decades of investigation, countless hours of detective work, and advancements in forensic science, the truth about what happened to her that night remains elusive. But for those who knew and loved her, the search for answers continues. Because in a case like this, where so much is unknown, one thing is certain: Lena Martinez deserves to be remembered, and her story deserves to be told. In the absence of concrete answers, the disappearance of Lena Martinez has given rise to countless theories and speculations. Each one offers a different perspective on what might have happened that fateful night, but none have been able to fully explain the mystery. From the plausible to the far-fetched, these theories have kept the case alive in the minds of investigators, armchair detectives, and the public alike. One of the most widely discussed theories is that Lena was abducted by a stranger. The fact that her car was found abandoned, with no signs of a struggle, has led some to believe that she may have been lured or forced into another vehicle. Could she have encountered someone on that quiet country road, someone with sinister intentions? The lack of witnesses and physical evidence makes this theory difficult to prove, but it remains one of the most haunting possibilities. Another theory focuses on the possibility that someone close to Lena was involved in her disappearance. While her family and friends were thoroughly investigated, Some have speculated that there may have been secrets in Lena's life that no one knew about. Was there someone in her inner circle who had a motive to harm her? The note found in her pocket, "I'll see you soon," has fueled this theory, with some suggesting it could have been written by someone she knew. But without evidence, this remains pure speculation. Then there's the theory that Lena may have chosen to disappear on her own. Could she have staged her disappearance to start a new life elsewhere? Those who knew her best dismissed this idea, pointing to her close relationship with her family and her excitement about her future. But in cases like this, no possibility can be entirely ruled out. The idea that Lena might still be out there, living under a different name, is both comforting and unsettling. Adding to the mystery are the unusual clues left behind. The red rose found on the driver's seat of Lena's car has been the subject of endless debate. Was it a romantic gesture, a taunt from an abductor, or simply a coincidence? Some have even suggested that the rose could be a symbol, a clue left intentionally to point investigators in a specific direction. But without context, its meaning remains elusive. The note found in Lena's pocket has also sparked intense speculation. Handwriting experts analyzed the scribbled words, "I'll see you soon," but were unable to match it to anyone in the investigation. Was it a message from someone Lena knew, or was it unrelated to her disappearance? The ambiguity of the note has made it one of the most puzzling aspects of the case. In recent years, the rise of online communities and amateur sleuths has brought new attention to Lena's disappearance. Websites, forums, and social media groups dedicated to unsolved mysteries have dissected every detail of the case, offering new theories and perspectives. Some have even claimed to have uncovered new leads, though none have led to a breakthrough. While the involvement of the public has kept the case in the spotlight, it has also led to challenges for investigators, who must sift through countless tips and theories, many of which are based on speculation rather than fact. Despite the lack of answers, the dedication of those who continue to search for the truth is a testament to the impact Lena Martinez had on those who knew her and the community she called home. Her story has become more than just a missing persons case. It's a reminder of the enduring power of hope, the importance of never giving up, and the lengths people will go to seek justice for those they love. The disappearance of Lena Martinez didn't just leave a void in the lives of her family, it shattered their world. For her parents, Rosa and Carlos, the pain of not knowing what happened to their daughter has been a constant, unrelenting ache. "Every day, I wake up hoping it's the day we'll get answers," Rosa once said in an interview. "But every night, I go to bed with the same questions, the same fear, the same emptiness." Carlos, who spent countless hours searching for Lena in the early days of her disappearance, described the experience as a nightmare he couldn't wake up from. "You keep thinking, maybe if I had done something differently, maybe if I had been there." His voice would often trail off, the weight of his grief too heavy to put into words. For Lena's younger sister, Sophie, the loss was equally devastating. At just 16 years old, Sophie had to navigate the unimaginable, growing up without her big sister, her confidant, her best friend. "Lena was my hero," Sophie said. "She was the one who encouraged me to dream big, to believe in myself. When she disappeared, it felt like a part of me disappeared too." Over the years, Sophie has channeled her grief into advocacy, becoming a vocal supporter of missing persons organizations and working to ensure that other families don't have to endure the same pain. The Martinez family's grief was compounded by the lack of closure. Without a body, without answers, they were left in a state of limbo, unable to mourn, unable to move on. "It's like living in a fog," Rosa once said. "You're stuck between hope and despair, not knowing which way to turn." Despite the passage of time, the family has never given up on finding the truth. They've attended every press conference, every memorial, and every event dedicated to keeping Lena's memory alive. For them, the search for answers isn't just about justice. It's about honoring the daughter and sister they loved so deeply. The impact of Lena's disappearance extended far beyond her family. In the tight-knit community of Willow Creek, the case left a lasting scar. The town, once known for its sense of safety and trust, was forever changed. Neighbors who had once left their doors unlocked began installing security systems. Parents who had once let their children play freely in the streets became more cautious, more protective. The disappearance of Lena Martinez was a stark reminder that even in the safest of places, danger could lurk just beneath the surface. But amidst the fear and uncertainty, the community also came together in remarkable ways. Vigils were held in Lena's honor, with hundreds of people gathering to light candles and share stories about the young woman who had touched so many lives. Fundraisers were organized to support the Martinez family and to raise awareness about missing persons cases. A memorial was erected in the town square, featuring a plaque with Lena's name and the words, "Forever in our hearts." It became a place where people could go to reflect, to remember, and to hope. The case also sparked a broader conversation about safety and vigilance in small towns. Community watch programs were established, and local law enforcement implemented new protocols for handling missing persons cases. Schools began offering safety workshops for children and parents, emphasizing the importance of awareness and communication. While these changes couldn't bring Lena back, they helped ensure that her disappearance would not be in vain. For the people of Willow Creek, Lena Martinez's story is more than just a tragedy. It's a call to action. It's a reminder to look out for one another, to speak up when something seems wrong, and to never take the safety of loved ones for granted. And it's a testament to the enduring power of community, even in the face of unimaginable loss. As the years have passed, the pain of Lena's disappearance has not faded, but neither has the hope that one day the truth will come to light. For her family, for her friends, and for the town of Willow Creek, the search for answers continues. Because Lena Martinez was more than just a missing persons case. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a light that will never be forgotten. In the decades since Lena Martinez vanished, the case has never truly gone cold. Advances in technology, renewed interest from investigators, and the tireless efforts of her family and advocates have kept the search for answers alive. While the mystery remains unsolved, there have been significant developments that offer a glimmer of hope. One of the most promising breakthroughs came in 2020, when a team of forensic experts re-examined the evidence using modern DNA analysis techniques. The partial fingerprint found on Lena's car, which had previously led nowhere, was entered into a national database that had grown exponentially since the 1980s. While no match was found, investigators remain hopeful that future advancements could finally provide a lead. "Technology is evolving every day," said Detective Mark Reynolds, who has stayed involved in the case long after his retirement. "We're closer than ever to finding the truth." Another development came in 2022, when a renewed push by online communities brought new attention to the case. Amateur sleuths and true crime enthusiasts combed through old files, social media posts, and public records, uncovering potential leads that had been overlooked. One such lead involved a man who had been living in Willow Creek at the time of Lena's disappearance and had since moved out of state. While the tip didn't result in an arrest, it highlighted the power of public involvement in keeping cold cases alive. Perhaps the most significant development has been the use of facial recognition technology to analyze old photographs and surveillance footage. Investigators have been able to enhance images from the night Lena disappeared, looking for any clues that might have been missed. While this hasn't yet yielded a breakthrough, it has opened up new possibilities for re-examining evidence that was once thought to be useless. The Martinez family has also played a crucial role in keeping the case in the public eye. In 2021, Lena's sister Sophie launched a podcast dedicated to unsolved missing persons cases, with a special focus on her sister's disappearance. The podcast has garnered a large following, bringing new attention to the case and inspiring others to come forward with information. If even one person remembers something, if even one piece of the puzzle falls into place, it could change everything, Sophie said in an episode. We're not giving up. Organizations like the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children have also taken an active role in the case. Using advanced databases and forensic tools, they've helped investigators re-examine old evidence and explore new leads. Their work has been instrumental in keeping the case alive, even as the years pass. Despite the challenges, the search for Lena Martinez continues. Her family, her friends, and the community of Willow Creek remain steadfast in their determination to find answers. We owe it to Lena to keep fighting, Rosa Martinez said in a recent interview. She deserves justice, and we deserve to know the truth. As technology continues to advance and new leads emerge, there is hope that one day, the mystery of Lena Martinez's disappearance will finally be solved. Until then, her story serves as a reminder of the importance of perseverance, the power of community, and the enduring hope that even the coldest cases can one day be brought to light. As we come to the end of this story, one thing is clear. The disappearance of Lena Martinez remains one of the most haunting mysteries of our time. Despite decades of investigation, countless hours of detective work, and the tireless efforts of her family and community, the truth about what happened that night in October 1987 remains elusive. Who took Lena? Why was her car abandoned with no signs of struggle? What was the meaning of the red rose and the cryptic note left behind? These questions continue to haunt those who knew her and those who have followed her case. But perhaps the most painful question of all is one that may never be answered. Will we ever know the truth? For Lena's family, this uncertainty is a burden they carry every day. For the town of Willow Creek, it's a reminder of the fragility of safety and trust. And for all of us, it's a call to action, a reminder that behind every missing person's case is a life, a story, and a family desperate for answers. Yet, even in the face of such uncertainty, there is hope. Advances in technology continue to open new doors for investigators, offering fresh opportunities to re-examine old evidence and uncover new leads. The dedication of organizations, advocates, and amateur sleuths keeps cases like Lena's in the public eye, ensuring that they are never forgotten. And the unwavering determination of families like the Martinezes reminds us that love and hope can endure even in the darkest of times. If you have any information about Lena Martinez's disappearance, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, we urge you to come forward. Sometimes, the smallest detail can be the key to solving a decades-old mystery. Your voice could be the one that brings closure to a grieving family and justice to a story that has remained unfinished for far too long. As we close this chapter, let us remember Lena not just as a victim, but as a vibrant young woman who dreamed of becoming a writer, who lit up every room she entered, and who was loved deeply by her family and friends. Her story is a reminder of the importance of community, the power of perseverance, and the enduring hope that one day, the truth will come to light. For decades, the disappearance of Lena Martinez has haunted Willow Creek and baffled detectives. But as long as there are people who care, there is hope that one day the truth will come to light.